Welcome to today's deep dive. Usually learning a new language feels like, it feels like standing at the bottom of this massive mountain of flashcards.
Oh, yeah, it's completely overwhelming.
Right, we're sort of conditioned to expect this really steep, painful climb, through dense grammar textbooks and rules that honestly seem to have way more exceptions than actual consistencies.
It's like a huge engineering problem.
Exactly. You're forced to memorize like thousands of individual gears and bolts before they ever let you turn the engine on and actually drive the car.
Which is why so many adults just give up.
Yeah. But today, we are looking at a source document that entirely flips that stressful script for you. It's an educational curriculum from a program called the English Cafe.
And it's hosted by two instructors, Anna and Leo.
Right, Anna and Leo. And on its surface, it's a deceptively simple script. It just teaches foundational English concepts, basic numbers, the time of day, calendar dates.
But the underlying methodology is fascinating.
It really is. Our mission today is to deconstruct this seemingly basic lesson to uncover the hidden mechanics of effective language instruction. Because the hosts state right in their intro that their goal is to make learning English easy like drinking coffee.
And to give you the words to meet friends and make plans.
Yeah. So we're going to explore exactly how they structure this curriculum to take you, the learner, from zero, just counting single digits, to successfully booking a coffee date in literally a matter of minutes.
That stated goal of making plans, that's really the lens through which we have to view the entire curriculum.
Right.
Because they aren't promising to help you pass some standardized proficiency exam, or read classic literature.
Thank goodness.
That's right. They're instantly tying the linguistic data to a deeply human social outcome. Because when we look at why adult learners specifically struggle so much with new languages, the primary culprit is usually cognitive overload.
Too much information all at once.
Exactly. Traditional approaches try to build the entire massive structure of a language in your head before you are ever allowed to live inside it.
Yeah.
But this curriculum, it attacks that problem immediately. They radically limit the scope of what is being taught and hyper-focus on immediate utility.
So let's look at how they manage that cognitive load right out of the gate. Because before you can make plans, you need the raw materials, right? Numbers and time.
The foundational blocks.
Right. In the script, Leo and Anna introduce the numbers 1 through 12. But looking at the source material, what really stands out isn't the vocabulary itself.
No, it's the formatting.
Yes, the highly specific stage directions written into the script for the hosts. Right before they start counting, there's a direction that explicitly dictates they must speak, quote, slowly. And then after every single group of numbers, there is another explicit direction that demands a pause.
It's very deliberate.
It is. Leo counts 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then there is this deliberate marked silence. And then Anna repeats that exact same sequence with the same silence.
Right.
It looks exactly like reading a musical score now, where the rests are treated with the exact same importance as the notes themselves.
The musical score analogy is actually perfect for understanding the underlying neuroscience here.
Really?
Yeah. Because when you hear a foreign language for the very first time, your brain does not perceive individual words.
It's just noise.
Exactly. It perceives an impenetrable, continuous wall of noise. You literally lack the auditory boundaries to know where one sound ends and another begins.
Wow. Yeah, that makes sense.
So by forcing the hosts to speak slowly and, inject those silent structural pauses, the curriculum is actively managing your working memory.
Because our short-term memory has a limit.
A very strict bottleneck. If you just rattle off 12 new phonetic sounds without stopping, your brain's buffer overflows.
You just crash.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
You might remember the first sound and the last sound and absolute nothing in the middle.
So the silence is the processing time. It gives your brain's working memory a fraction of a second to say, let me file away those strange new sounds I just heard before you throw more at me.
It's like giving someone a chance to chew and swallow their food before handing them the next bite.
Right. But I do want to challenge a specific structural choice they make here.
Okay, what's that?
They deliberately chunk the numbers and they stop at 12. Now, the universal standard for mathematics, like the way we fundamentally organize counting, is base 10.
Sure, we have 10 fingers.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Most traditional language textbooks, they teach 1 through 10, then 11 through 20, and so on. Stopping at 12 just seems, counterintuitive.
It feels weird to an adult.
Yeah, almost disruptive to the natural way an adult conceptualizes math. Why not just teach base 10?
Well, it seems disruptive until you look at the immediate application. The answer is literally one line after they finish teaching the number 12.
Oh, right.
Anna transitions by saying, "To tell the time, we use these numbers." They instantly introduce a clock, half past, and quarter past. And they cap it off with the example exactly 10 o'clock. The genius of stopping at 12 is that it maps flawlessly onto an analog clock face.
Oh, wow. That completely reorients the goal.
Doesn't it?
Yeah, because if they taught 1 through 10, you wouldn't have the necessary vocabulary to understand 11 o'clock or 12 o'clock.
And conversely, if they followed the traditional textbook route and taught 1 through 20, what happens?
You learn 13, 14, 15.
Right. They would be forcing you to memorize 8 additional numbers that are entirely useless for the immediate primary task of telling the basic hour.
It's just dead weight for that specific lesson.
Exactly. It is an exercise in extreme, ruthless efficiency. And this solves a major psychological barrier for adult learners, which is the massive gap between effort and reward.
Oh, totally. You study for weeks and still can't say anything useful.
Right. You study for 3 weeks and you still cannot confidently ask a stranger for directions. The effort feels disconnected from the payoff, but this curriculum closes that gap in 3 minutes.
3 minutes.
Yeah. You learn a very specific set of 12 words, and immediately you possess a tangible, highly practical life skill. You can read a clock and communicate the time.
It bridges abstract data directly to a real-world survival skill.
Precisely.
Well, that principle of immediate utility actually leads us perfectly into the next major hurdle, which is memory retention.
Right. Keeping it in your head.
Yeah. Because once they establish the micro level, like isolating hours in a day, the script zooms out to the macro level, organizing the days of the week and dates in a year. Anna slowly lists Monday through Sunday. They established the English rule for dates, presenting the formula of the month and the number, using clear examples like May 10th and July 4th.
Very structured.
Super structured.
Yeah.
But then, right in the middle of this vocabulary building, the script just abruptly shifts gears into personal preferences.
Yes.
Leo announces, "I love Saturday because I can sleep." And Anna responds, "My favorite day is Friday because the weekend starts."
It's a great pivot.
It is. But looking at this through the lens of cognitive psychology, it seems like they're deliberately creating cognitive anchors here.
Oh, absolutely.
Instead of just drilling the abstract sound of Friday, Anna is associating it with the universal dopamine hit of the weekend starting.
That is exactly the mechanism at play. It's based on schema theory.
Schema theory.
Yeah. The human brain does not store information like a computer hard drive, just placing sterile data into folders. We construct knowledge by connecting new information to pre-existing networks of understanding.
And those networks are schemas.
Right. So rote memorization, like just staring at a list of 7 arbitrary sounds corresponding to days of the week, is incredibly inefficient.
Okay, but let me push back on that application for a true beginner.
Sure.
If I am an adult learner who is already struggling to distinguish the phonetic difference between Tuesday and Thursday.
Which is hard.
It is. So doesn't injecting cultural concepts like the weekend or personal anecdotes about sleeping in just clutter the input?
You're worried about cognitive overload again.
Yeah. I would argue that teaching additional slang-adjacent concepts might actually confuse someone who just needs the rigid structure of a calendar. Isn't there a risk of muddying the waters with all this emotional messiness?
It's a really valid concern, and honestly, in a poorly designed curriculum, introducing too many new variables at once absolutely does cause confusion.
Right.
However, the emotional messiness here is the actual memory accelerant.
Accelerant? How so?
Well, think about the feeling of Friday. That drop in cortisol, the anticipation of time off, that is a deeply ingrained emotional state for most working adults.
Oh, for sure.
So by attaching the new alien label Friday to that pre-existing emotional architecture, the curriculum allows you to bypass brute force memorization.
Oh, I see.
The brain recognizes the familiar feeling of the weekend and just simply accepts the new vocabulary word as the label for that feeling. Furthermore, this models the fundamental purpose of the language.
Right, because language is inherently messy and emotional.
Precisely. People do not engage in conversations just to recite calendar days to each other.
Hello, it is Tuesday.
Exactly. We communicate to share experiences. By sharing their personal preferences, Leo and Anna demonstrate how these tools are utilized in the wild.
It proves you aren't just acquiring data. You're gaining a mechanism for self-expression.
Which is incredibly motivating.
That actually transitions us into what I think is the most critical phase of the curriculum, We've seen how they handle cognitive overload with pacing and memory retention with emotional anchors. But understanding the theory is vastly different from practical execution.
Night and day.
The script moves into a section literally titled Practice Time. And this addresses a dangerous trap for learners: the illusion of competence.
Oh, the illusion of competence is a killer.
Because when you're listening to audio, just letting the voices wash over you, it is very easy to feel like you're learning simply because you understand what's being said in the moment.
Yeah, that's the false confidence that comes from passive recognition. Recognizing a word when a native speaker says it requires very little cognitive effort.
But producing it is harder.
Much harder. Producing that word yourself from scratch is an entirely different neurological process.
And the script forces that production. Anna and Leo present 3 distinct role-play situations.
Right.
The first is meeting for coffee on Monday at 4 o'clock. The second is telling a friend that today is May 10th. And the third is asking what time a class starts, with the provided answer of 9 o'clock. Crucially, after modeling the sentence, the script features a repeated prompt where Anna commands, "Now you try."
Yes.
And this is immediately followed by another of those explicit structural pause markers. It really functions like a flight simulator for social interaction.
The flight simulator is an incredibly apt metaphor because it highlights the necessity of safe failure.
Safe failure, I like that.
In cognitive science, this mechanism is called retrieval practice. You do not truly learn something just by putting information into your brain.
Right.
You learn it by forcing your brain to pull that information back out. When Anna says, "Now you try," and the audio goes completely silent, you experience a mild simulated spike of stress.
Because you're on the spot.
Exactly. Your brain is suddenly forced to scour its newly formed networks, retrieve the specific vocabulary, assemble it into the correct syntax, and physically vocalize it.
And it's that struggle that makes it stick.
Yes. That effort, that struggle to retrieve the information during the silence, is the exact moment the neural pathway is solidified.
Okay, but let's look at the parameters of this simulator. The scenarios they mandate are highly specific. Coffee at 4 o'clock. Class at 9 o'clock.
Sure.
I question whether these situations are just too narrow. If your goal is to navigate a diverse, unpredictable world, does practicing such rigid, specific templates leave you unprepared for, say, asking someone to a movie on Thursday or dinner at 7?
Well, the specificity is intentional, and it brings us back to the core mission established in the very first lines of the text.
Meet friends and make plans.
Exactly. Those scenarios were not selected at random. They represent high-stakes, real-world social interactions that generate massive anxiety for adult language learners.
That makes sense.
Consider the consequences of failure. If you use the wrong word for a vegetable at the supermarket, the stakes are virtually zero.
You can just point at the tomato.
Right. You gesture, the interaction is resolved. But if you fundamentally misunderstand the time and day for a meeting, if you show up at 9 instead of 4, or on Tuesday instead of Monday, the social connection is destroyed.
Yeah, the margin for error in making plans is 0. You either arrive at the right time or you don't.
And that binary outcome creates linguistic paralysis. By forcing you to practice coffee on Monday at 4 o'clock, the curriculum provides a robust practice template for the most anxiety-inducing type of interaction.
It's narrow but foundational.
Exactly. Once your brain has mastered the architecture of that specific sentence under the mild pressure of the simulator, swapping out the variables like changing coffee to dinner or 4 to 7 requires significantly less cognitive load.
Because the architecture is already secure.
Yes.
Man, that makes the silence after "now you try."
Arguably the most aggressive yet supportive part of the entire lesson.
It really is. It demands that you take the controls of the simulator before you ever have to fly the plane in a real social storm.
Beautifully put.
Which actually brings us to the closing of the script. And I found this to be a brilliant subversion of the typical audio format.
The comment section prompt.
Yes. Leo recaps the concepts: numbers, time, days, dates. But then Anna delivers a specific call to action. She tells the listener, write in the comments, what time is it now? What day is today? Use English.
It's a remarkable pivot. It completely dismantles the artificial boundaries of the pre-recorded lesson.
How so?
Well, up until that point, the retrieval practice was entirely private. You were vocalizing to yourself in your living room or your car.
Exactly. It was a closed loop.
But by demanding that you write the current time and day in the comments, the script forces a translation of immediate reality.
You can't just regurgitate the examples Leo provided.
No, you have to look at the physical clock in your actual time zone, process that external reality, translate it into your new English vocabulary, and then publish it publicly.
It takes the hypothetical flight simulator and forces you to actually land the plane in front of an audience.
It demands public proof of comprehension. And simultaneously, it transforms a solitary listening experience into a community event.
Which is huge for motivation.
Huge. When a learner goes to the comments section and sees hundreds of other people posting their local times and dates, it visually reinforces the concept that language is a tool for global connection.
But I think it is the very last line of the script that reveals the true psychological mastery of this whole curriculum.
The tease for the next lesson.
Yeah. Right before they sign off, Leo delivers a teaser. He says, "Next time we go to a restaurant, are you hungry?"
It's brilliant.
It is so much more sophisticated than a standard tune in next week sign off.
Because it's leveraging a fundamental biological drive to sustain motivation. The attrition rate for adult language learners is staggering because the process is just so exhausting.
Right.
Maintaining the motivation to return for a second lesson is the absolute hardest challenge an educator faces.
So by asking, "Are you hungry?" Leo is essentially hacking your survival instincts.
Yeah.
He isn't just promoting the syllabus. He is promising that the reward for enduring the cognitive strain of the next lesson will be the ability to fulfill a core human need.
Everyone understands the universal desire to eat.
And the vulnerability of being in a foreign restaurant and not knowing how to secure food.
It's terrifying.
Yeah. It frames the upcoming educational labor not as a chore, but as the literal key to unlocking a satisfying, necessary life experience.
It shifts the motivation completely. From intrinsic discipline to extrinsic reward. You aren't studying because you feel you should. You are studying because you want to know how to feed yourself in this new linguistic environment.
Wow. We have unpacked a massive amount of hidden architecture in what honestly appeared to be a simple vocabulary list.
We really have.
We explored how the deliberate musical pacing of rests manages the bottleneck of working memory. We analyzed how stopping at the number 12 ruthlessly prioritizes the immediate utility of the analog clock.
Closing that gap between effort and reward.
Exactly. We looked at how schema theory is utilized to bypass rote memorization by anchoring dry calendar days to the emotional relief of the weekend. And we examined the flight simulator of retrieval practice, proving that safe failure is required to navigate high-stakes social interactions.
Every single stage direction, every pause, and every casual anecdote was a calculated pedagogical tool.
All designed to reduce friction and build usable skill.
Exactly.
Which leaves us with a really fascinating application for our own lives. Because, we've been discussing this strictly in the context of learning a foreign language.
Right.
But think about the last time you had to teach someone a complex new system.
Oh, like onboarding a new employee.
Yeah, onboarding a new employee at your company. Or, I don't know, maybe you were trying to teach an older relative how to navigate a new smartphone.
That's always fun.
Right. Our default instinct is usually to hand them the equivalent of the massive grammar textbook. We overwhelm them with the entire base 10 system, showing them every menu, every feature, and every possible exception all at once.
Which just leads to instant cognitive overload and frustration.
Exactly. But what if, instead, we applied the English Cafe methodology? What if we ruthlessly stripped away 90% of the information and only taught them the 1 through 12 equivalent?
Just the exact sequence of buttons they need to achieve one immediate, highly desirable outcome.
Yes. What if the secret to teaching anyone anything isn't about providing all the information, but about providing just enough architecture to let them succeed once, and then asking them the equivalent of, "Are you hungry?"
Something to chew on.
Literally. Until next time.